All right, this week I'm going to talk about an article I came across that was based on the bioavailability of protein. So, bioavailability talks about how in a sense the not necessarily just the absorption of protein, but also the utilization of protein. So, this is a .gov article, so it's more of a reliable source. So, like usual, I'll link the article into the comments so people can actually look into it and everything. So it gets into the actual science, and it looks at the bioavailability of plant protein versus animal protein. So it looks at okay, how easily digestible is the plant protein versus animal protein. So it pretty much gets very in depth into the weeds of the whole science behind how we are able to digest each type of protein, and with the bioavailability, it's like, okay, how are we able to not only absorb the different types of protein, but how are we able to utilize that and be able to in a sense use that for our normal day-to-day bodily function, for our function of our organs, and things like when it comes to weightlifting, doing cardio, like doing physical activity, and how we're able to utilize that for those activities that we decide to do. So now I forget where I saw this and everything, so so don't necessarily quote me on this, but the top two like bioavailable proteins that I came across that I saw a few years ago was, number one was the whey protein, and number two was egg protein. So those were the top two. So in the sense they were easily digestible, easily being able to break down into all the essential the amino acids that make up the protein, and so that way it was easier to be able to utilize and everything. So one of the stats it starts off with is that it's a percentage. It says that with a plant based, it tends to be an 80% absorption rate, or and animals 93%. So of course these are just a couple tidbits of the article, and it really gets in, like I said, into the weeds of the whole science. And it was breaking it down how I was looking at the study, and okay, and it was based on the past study that was done over the past several years, and they looking okay, with a big push nowadays, trying to push towards plant-based proteins and everything. The question is okay, well, how effective is this compared to conventional means of protein sources, like your animal consumptions, your beef, your pork, chicken, uh, eggs, and stuff like that. So those are a couple of the percentages that it starts off with and everything. So now the big thing is of course, me being biased more towards animal sources. Now, I mean, this could kind of get my confirmation bias, oh yeah, you see, I'm totally right and everything. This is totally better and everything. So this is just a bias towards the animal proteins, because it's something that works better for me. So the caveat is of course you have to take an individual approach to everything. When you're looking at this article, and you have to ask the question what's the best approach that works for me. And this gets into all the different types of how you eat, the extremes on the complete animal side, carnivore, and the complete plant-based on vegan. And of course you got vegetarian, pescatarian, paleo, keto, there's the whole litany of different ways that you can eat and everything. And so the reason why there's so many different types of diets, or dietary approaches, is because they pretty much all work. So what you have to do is you have to take an individual approach, be okay, which one works best for me. Because while we may have as humans, we may have the whole overarching same physiology and everything, we all have the same organs, and the same limbs, and legs, arms, hands, fingers, eyes, mouth, our unique individual physiology may differ and everything, because like you got to take in like individual factors, like okay, we have like a different gut health, like we may have like different ancestry and everything, depending on like where our ancestors came from, whether it's from Africa, Europe, Asia. So we got to look at the genetic part, and like okay, I might be like one person might be more predisposed to getting being better at having a better approach with being a vegetarian than versus a carnivore, or the next person might be better have a better approach with like a paleo versus the Mediterranean diet. So like this with the it just kind of showcases like the bioavailability of like the different protein sources. And so like what we need to do is like with this information is like kind of look at it like, okay, so this is what this is saying, and like what I need to do is I need to take this information and see how I can apply it to myself and everything. So now, like I said, I'm more biased towards the more of the animal type approach, because like after having gone through like what's known as the elimination process, where you're cutting out like stuff and you're like adding stuff back in. There's a certain amount of time, like maybe like a month and a half or 2 months, to see which kind of foods work better for you. That you do the same process, and so like, that way, like okay, well, yes, this article might say that like animal proteins are better digestible and more bioavailable and everything, and okay, like I'm talking that like I'm biased towards the animal type approach, because that's what I found that that approach works for me. So what you need to do is like, okay, well, this article is saying this is what he's saying, and this is like where he's biased towards too, because he's found that like okay, this is what works for me. So what I need to do is I need to take this and kind of test stuff for myself, because you might be someone who be on the opposite end of the spectrum and find that like a plant-based approach like with maybe vegetarian works great for you, because of like the different factors I mentioned, like maybe your gut health, your ancestry, and like maybe like your what type of region you're in, because like I've stated before in other videos, like it depends on like a region, where like if like you're living in Florida, at least traditionally, like you'd have more access to like your citrus fruits, versus like someone in the Northeast, you'd have more accessibility to like fruits like blueberries and apples, and like you also have like different types of like animals and stuff that like food sources that you would be at least traditionally exposed to. So like in Florida, you are traditionally exposed to seafood, versus like up here in the Northeast, you might be more like exposed to like livestock, like cattle and pigs and stuff like that. So, and a little troublemaker. So always needs attention when I'm doing these. But anyway, so this whole article gets into like the weeds of like the bioavailability of the proteins. So this is just like in a sense a way for us to get like information like to look at and like add fuel to like the source of like, okay, well, I need to find out like what nutritional approach works best for me, and so this way I can look into like the like reiterate the bioavailability of protein, see which approach helps this as added information to see which one works best for me. And so and this way like it just kind of like gives me like another data point that I can use to kind of like help with my nutrition, because like you can sit here and do like all the training you want, but you can't necessarily outwork a shitty diet and everything. So this is why nutrition is like very important, because like the old adage, you are what you eat. So if you're sitting there eating junk food and like a bunch of ding dongs and donuts and everything, you're nothing but like a ding dong type of deal. So this article just kind of gives like I said, another data point to help like kind of like you know, get people ideas like thinking on like, okay, well, I need like a protein, of course, like because protein is probably the most important like macronutrient of the three. Now you can like you can get in the argument like of carbs versus fat for like energy sources, like, and of course that's back and forth, and that's a whole nother source. But like with the focus of this with protein and everything, what we want to focus on is like okay, I need protein to do like for my organs to function, for like for daily like activities like lifting and stuff like that. So I need to find what protein sources are best for me. So like I need to like also take into consideration like this whole article is about is the bioavailability, and like and then look at my unique situation, my unique gut health, physiology and everything, and then be like, okay, so this is what this is saying. Let me apply this and see which protein sources work best for me. And of course, most people are probably going to have like when you get into like a combination of both, you're probably going to have like a much better like a response, or a much better like overall adaptation, or like in a sense like your better results from having like a variety of stuff. So like it's like the usual bell curve that you see. Like most people are like right in there and at the bell, and so like I said, with getting a variety of different protein sources. So this is just to get more information out there in terms of like a protein intake and everything.